Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious or you've got a bit lost. I'm Chatty, and welcome to my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, where I am going to be chatting away madly about what I have been reading for this first week of December. Also, I'm doing it live because my phone is broken. So I usually use my phone as a camera. So I have my phone, I do my videos, I do lots of like thumbnails and other bits and pieces on there, and I chat on there. But it's not working. So it's like the screen is just blank, it's ringing, it's making noise, but I have no control over it. And I still haven't got to a phone repair shop yet. So I thought I would see if I could go live and just make a video that way. And I did write a comment that I realised hasn't sent. So it's already, there we go. Okay, I've sent the comment. Basically, it could be chaos. We'll see what happens. If you are happening to watch or as I am filming this and the sound feedback is terrible, please let me know. I've once kind of had to do it with headphones because there was kind of like an alien kind of ringing noise. But then another time there wasn't. So I have no idea. But anyway, I'm here to talk through what I've been reading for the first week of November. It is the 10th of December. It's 10th of December. We've had 10 days of reading, and we will see if I have used them wisely or not. But anyway, it is definitely one shot because we're live. I can't even pause. We're just rolling. I have one child in bed. I have another one who is enjoying watching the football. But I'm hoping I don't need to be involved with him at all. So fingers crossed this will work. Cheers, everybody. Clink, clink, clink. Enjoy a good old brew. So I have got some books I'm going to be talking about with you about what I have been reading over these last few weeks. So I am hoping that I'm going to be ticking off some prompts for the readathons that I have been doing. So the readathons that I am taking part in is the Reindeer readathon, and I am part of Team Nutcracker. So go Team Nutcracker. Sadly, have not been able to make it to any of the sprints yet because the time doesn't align. I have a job and I have 2 kids, so I kind of end up being available to read and be live at sort of random times. But I might pretend it's live and just watch and read along later. We'll see. Oh, I have Vadania in the chat. Hello, Vadania Silverscribe. It's so nice to see you. I have missed you. It's not been long, but I have missed chatting to you so regularly. And I am going to talk about our Cog-along book. I am going to talk about Shadowsea. So feel free to chat with me. That might be very exciting. If I had the skill set, I would try and bring Vadania in so we could talk together. But we tried it and we could not work out before. We did a private one and we couldn't work out how to try and get 2 people on the screen. And I don't know if my laptop could cope with it, to be perfectly honest, because I can't even bring like banners up so you can see comments. So I just have to read them out to you. So Vadania says, hello, everyone. Hi, Chatty. So yes, I have finished Shadowsea. This is a middle grade. Get my technical words correct. This is a middle grade book. It is a fantasy, usually classed as fantasy. I class it as magical realism because it kind of takes place in sort of a alternative, historical London. Different place with this one, but I'll get onto that in a minute. Where the different things is mechanicals. So they have lots of kind of like robots, but they're all done by clockwork. And we can see here on the cover, I don't know how good the camera sit is, but this is a fox, and you can see a little cog, little wind-up key sticking out his back. He is a mechanimal, which is a mechanical animal. So he's a mechanical fox. And we love him. We love Malcolm. So this is the final book in the Cogheart series. There were 4 books, Cogheart being the first one. And myself and Vadania started reading in September, and we did a Cog-along. So we read 1 book each month. And this was our final one. It was our final book. I'm now going to read Vadania's chatter in the chat, and she says, "Yay, Shadowsea," and then she says, "Our least favourite." So there we go. Yeah, this was the one that neither of us liked the most. It was, I'd say, it's the weakest of the four. Things that I did enjoy about it was that, and I think it's just because of when I'm reading it. So obviously it's December, we're all feeling very festive and Christmassy, and this is set at Christmas time. So we start off, they're in an air zep, they're flying across. So we have Robert and Lily, and we have Malcolm their fox, and we have Mr. Hartman, Lily's dad, and it's Christmas Eve. So they have Christmas on board the Zep, and then they fly into New York City, and they're going to meet up with some other people for New Year's Eve. So we're in New York, so that's really festive. So all of that kind of atmosphere was lots of fun. It's given me very much, like Christmas movie in New York vibes, the snow. And it was also sort of fun to see it with, didn't go into too much historical detail, but like fun to see it in kind of like a 1900s lens of New York City. So that was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, that's kind of all I sort of enjoyed about it. I kind of feel that I would have just kind of preferred to have, if they could have just done a fun if Peter Bunzel could have just done like a fun Christmassy New York novella, that would have been great. I kind of didn't need this adventure, really. I felt that Sky Circus was like a much nicer ending of the series, because we explored one of the main parts of the series, which was the idea of having a human with mechanical elements to them. So they call these hybrids. So that was very much explored in Sky Circus, which was the third book that we both read last month, which was November. And that was my favourite. And I just felt it really explored that kind of prejudice and them kind of being seen as freaks, which linked to kind of the historical aspect of like circus and freak show, without it being like problematic and really uncomfortable for a modern day audience. And also like the characters had their own kind of little journeys within that, of them feeling okay about themselves. And Malcolm really shined in that one as well. The Mechanical Fox, he was hilarious in that. So it just felt like a really nice. And then kind of at the end, it was sort of like the idea of one of the characters kind of telling the story in their own words. And that's a nice thing to kind of end on, that they then write their experience and adventures. And it felt like it had kind of become kind of a complete full circle. And then this kind of felt like there were a couple of things that they hadn't finished off and just kind of threw this kind of at them, and the adventure just wasn't as fun, like compared to this fun circus full of all these wonderful kind of mechanical elements, because the cogness of it all is really what kind of drew both myself and Vadania into this series, and we really enjoyed it so much. This one kind of looks a lot more at resurrection and kind of escaping death and sort of extending your life through a mixture of science fiction and fantasy, sort of. So yeah, it kind of looked at that kind of aspect of it, and I just felt like we didn't really need to go there, and it just didn't feel as fun as some of the other ones. And the characters also made some really stupid decisions in this. It's like one minute they're like, yes, we need to just not talk about, we need to like not draw attention to ourselves, we need to like keep this secret, and then suddenly they are blurting out everything they know to people. So it was like it was just a bit crazy. Like, why are you doing this, guys? Like, you're supposed to be a little bit more pro at this now. You kind of do these mysteries, what's going on? So it just didn't feel as fun as the other ones, which is a real shame. So yeah, this was definitely the least favorite. I'm now going to have a little bit of read you some of the chat, because Vadania has been sharing a lot of her thoughts as well. So Vadania says that she also really did like all the Christmas ambiance. She also did lots of laughing faces. I think that was from when I said that we could have done without this book being written. Sorry. And Vadania said, yes, and I agree. She said, I'd say it was a bit of a horror too. Laughing face and angry face. I'm presuming you really did not like that aspect either then, Vadania. I didn't mind it too much. It just wasn't fun as the others. So within this, there is very much a Penny Dreadful feeling. So it's kind of that sort of Victorian, slightly creepy, sinister vibes with a bit more kind of thrillery, murdery kind of aspects to them. So in the first book, Cogheart, we got this kind of chase feeling by these very creepy, sinister characters. And there was also kind of an almost surgical Frankenstein sort of scene. So it was very kind of Penny Dreadful vibes. Then in the second one, it was very much not as, it gave me slightly potential murder in the alleys of London, sort of Jack the Ripper vibes. There were like secret tunnels. There was a sinister character again, but like a notorious one. So it gave me those kind of vibes. And then obviously I've already said like Sky Circus, it had that kind of freak show element, but done in a very unproblematical way with kind of the mech side of thing and exploring that prejudice, and also like the freaky circus kind of imprisoned. Oh, and there was a lunatic asylum as well, not in use, but just that kind of scary outhouse building that they got taken to at one point. Whereas I don't really feel that kind of like underwater and zombies felt like Penny Dreadful. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not a Penny Dreadful expert, but just from what I have seen, not seen, I don't know. I'm not a Penny Dreadful expert, but I didn't get the same vibes from it. And also like, I don't know, just there were some things I didn't enjoy actually. I enjoyed they meet a gang of kids, and they were fun. I liked them. But yeah, generally it was my least favorite. Sky Circus is my favorite, and this one was my least favorite. But I still recommend the series as a whole. Definitely, give Cogheart a read if you enjoy middle grade and you enjoy that kind of adventure. It was a lot of fun in that respect. But in terms of this one, it just didn't really work for me as much as the other ones did. And Vadani said, I have no clue about Penny Dreadful. All I know is through those books. I did like that Robert finally feels like a Hartman. Yes, I do agree, Vadania, that was nice. But I felt like he did feel like a Hartman in Sky Circus as well. And that was the other thing. So there were other characters. I'm going to talk slightly spoilers now because I can't do this without talking spoilers. So if you want to read this series and you don't want anything spoiled for you, please leave. And if you want to come and see it when it's no longer live, or you want to pop back in a bit later, if I'm not waving this book around, then I will no longer be talking spoilers about it. Okay, Vadania's saying some more stuff in the chat. She's saying spoilers, yay, and then she's saying other thing, which is a spoiler. Okay, so I'm going to talk spoilers now. Spoilers for Moonlocket, and spoilers for Cogheart, and obviously spoilers for this. And from that, spoilers for Sky Circus, I guess, as well. Right. So yeah. In Moonlocket, Robert finds out about his missing mum. I wasn't necessarily sure about that plot when I started reading it, because I just felt that Robert represents kind of a family that's not your typical family. So if you're a single parent family, or you have a parent that's kind of absent, it's nice to have a character that you can kind of relate to that to. But actually it was handled really well. It didn't just become this mystical mother figure that suddenly they've got a magical family again. Her relationship with Robert was tricky, and Robert was very kind of withdrawn from her because obviously he feels like she abandoned him. So he finds that a bit awkward. And he also finds that he has a half sister, no, full sister. Yeah, he has a sister, and she's pretty cool. We quite like her, and he liked to see his mum and his sister again. So they kind of end where Robert feels like he feels more at home with Lily and her dad, and decides to make his home with them. In this book, they meet up again. So the people they're meeting in New York are Robert's mum and his sister Caddy. So it was nice that we kind of got to see them again, particularly Caddy. Like, their relationship, the brother and sister relationship, was really sweet. I did really like that. The mother and Robert relationship felt a bit odd. I appreciate that we didn't have her kind of like running into Robert's arms. It was still kind of a bit of a distance, a bit of a gap, a bit of awkwardness. But then it's never fully explored. Like, in this, she's talking about probably staying in New York and America permanently because it's good for her job and her career. She never asks Robert how that feels. She never really sits down and has a conversation with Robert. She's just immediately like, I need to fill in forms. So, John Harmon, you're going to help me fill in the forms. The kids are going to stay in the hotel. Like, we've just had this amazing trip, all of us. And actually, we're going to spend most of it in the hotel. But that works great for the plot because then all the kids can be without adult supervision and can solve a mystery. But in terms of like character arcs and character relationships, it just felt like Robert and his mum's relationship was never really explored. And I think if that's going to be the case, we then kind of really didn't need to see it in this book. Another, the death theme that was explored in this book was that Lily is a hybrid and she has a Cogheart. So she was kind of brought back to life by having this mechanical heart that keeps her alive. So she's kind of escaped death twice. And a character in this book also escapes death, but through this resurrection machine. And that's kind of explored, and it kind of goes down the line of this boy that was resurrected. He lost his parents, he kind of lost his memory. They all find out what happened, tell him, and then suddenly he kind of goes a bit, it's suddenly like he's in this Machiavellian character that's dealing with trying to organize resurrecting his parents. And that also, you could sort of see the point, and like it was very much used to kind of highlight how we shouldn't really, there are consequences to messing around with all of this stuff, and the consequences were he did try to resurrect them and they turned out to being zombies. But it was just, it never kind of really felt that he had the consequences of that fully explored. Like, he was just like, oh, this was a bad idea. And everyone was like, yes, we've been telling you it was a bad idea. And now we're stuck with a load of zombies. And then it was just, everyone was just really angry with his aunt who made the machine, not the fact that he snuck into a place that you shouldn't go in. No one thought to stop him. No guards were kind of pointed around the door. And then the person who made the machine was kind of like basically culpable for manslaughter. But no one thought that Dane, for kind of pulling three friends in, stealing property, there just was no consequence for him. And it was just seemed a bit crazy. Like, it just, I don't know, there just wasn't a consequence. I'm going to go into the chat because Vadania has got lots of things to say, which I love. So yeah, the spoiler Vadania mentioned earlier was that she felt like punching Dane. Like, I can see that. I can see that, yeah. Oh, I agree with this as well. Yes, this is good. I would also like to thank Peter Bunzel that Robert's mum and Lily's dad did not fall in love very conveniently, so to become a big happy family. Agree massively with that. And I think it's very clear they're very different people. Selena is very like mystical. She has a sort of a fortune telling seance, not variety. There's a word. It's a show. It's not music hall, but it's that kind of like a sort of sideshow music hall thing. You kind of would find that they'd be very popular in Victorian times, but it's that kind of like mystic and wonder kind of thing. She's got that sort of show. So John Hartman is like a man of science and engineering. So the two really don't see eye to eye, and I find that actually quite funny. So yeah, they would not have worked, and I'm pleased that that didn't happen. Vadania also says Dane was so stupid. His character was so messed up. Yes, he was. He was, and this just wasn't explored at all. But hey ho. And Vadania also says he's like 12 and suddenly he's a submarine expert engineer. I don't know. Maybe to be part of the Shadowsea base, everyone needs to be able to work the diving bell. This is the diving bell here. That was actually fun. I did enjoy the kind of the diving bell and the helmets. What do you call them? Like deep sea diving helmets. These things. I think they're called like old-fashioned deep sea diving stuff. Like I did enjoy that. Oh, Anitha, hey, just wanted to say hi. Stepping out, we'll catch it later. I have this, Anitha. It is finished. I have many thoughts. I'm looking forward to watching the live show as well and being able to like explain them all. Back to Shadowsea. Yeah, so all of that was just like, yeah, it did seem just a bit, just sort of sudden. I don't know, like it just felt a bit forced. I will tell you all my thoughts later. I can't comment very easily on Discord at the moment either because my phone is broken. But I will do my best on the laptop. It's not as easy to use. There's just something just so much more comfortable about having this portable computer in your hand and just being able to converse on it much more than this big kind of cumbersome laptop. I just find it not as easy to like chat. But I will do what I need to do. Did I have anything else I wanted to say about Shadowsea? Vadania, if you got anything else you want to share about Shadowsea? Any more frustrations or any things that you did actually enjoy about it? Or anything you want to share about the series as a whole? I remembered one thing. So in Sky Circus, there's a name. So the person who's pulling the strings of the Sky Circus plot, whose name completely eludes me, but they're a professor. I felt their story wasn't finished. I felt that they were kind of like unfinished and we were then going to find more about them and there was going to be kind of more of a big plot with them. I was expecting them to be behind all of this stuff. And they weren't. It was Dane. So I was like, oh, we're never going to hear of this professor that has been experimenting on children and they're just going to like just disappear and be lost into the world. And it was a bit weird as well because Lily's mum was a student of this professor, and we get that it's very hard for women in this Victorian London world, also Victorian Paris and Victorian New York now, to be kind of proficient in science and be a kind of leader in their field. So the woman is admired for that, the fact that she is so high up in her career and respected. But that doesn't excuse. We can't just be like, oh, that's nice. She's done well for herself. Woo, go feminism. You still can't just like do bad stuff. That's just not acceptable. And it just seems that was kind of left untied because she left a note for Lily. Like she left this note that was kind of like, I respect you, and I can see your mother in you. And I felt really creeped out by that. I was like, what are you doing leaving notes to Lily? Like, get out. No, you don't get to talk to her. Just go away. You were going to kill her. What are you doing? And Lily was like, oh, that's nice. My mum's professor thinks I'm cool. So that kind of freaked me out in terms of like, it's kind of connotations of child grooming. Just a little bit. Felt really uncomfortable. So I wanted that to be dealt with. I wanted Lily to be like, no, you made a bad choice. You could have been great for science, but your ethics were wrong. We didn't get that. So this crazy woman is off still awry in the world without being punished, because this is the last one. It was quite clear at the end, but there were no more books here. So yeah, that's what I wanted, and that we didn't get that. So maybe because I had expectations, I also didn't like it. And Vadania has more stuff to say, so I'm going to read it. Oh yeah. So Vadania also wants to point out that in Shadowsea, they took the kids to an opera, and she's never heard of a single child liking opera. I think even in Victorian times, I don't really know if that would be for them. Like, they want musical variety shows, I feel, rather than an opera. And Vadania also says, yes, I wanted that story to continue too. Unfortunately, it didn't. No, it didn't. And I'm quite gutted. Also, I didn't like in Shadowsea that they wouldn't accept McManimals indoors. Yes. So Sky Circle kind of opens the doors for like Lily to kind of come out into the open of being a hybrid, because unlike the other ones in the Sky Circus, hers was like an organ inside, so you wouldn't know that she had it, whereas theirs were all like physical hybrids, so you could see that they were physically different to other humans because they've got mechanical cogwork attached to them. So she's kind of opening the doors that actually hybrids are normal people and no one should be treated different. Well, everyone should be given human rights and respect and shouldn't be segregated just because someone is different. But then we go to New York, and mechs are allowed in the hotel, but McManimals are not allowed in the hotel. And that wasn't explored. They just kind of hid Malcolm in a basket and kind of took him everywhere. Like, he's like the early version of, like, you know, the dog in a handbag sort of thing. Yeah, that wasn't explored. And I think I also wanted a little bit more of, like, continuing to, like, now Lily's out in the open, apart from a few people staring at her and the tech kids being interested in her as like a phenomenon, that wasn't really explored more. So I suppose I wanted that kind of thing to be explored as well. Like, it was such an opportunity for kind of like social issues to be looked at that kind of didn't happen. So that was a shame. One massive thing that Vadania liked was the vision. And she liked how this little girl. Oh, yeah. So she liked it. Yes. Okay. I understand what you're saying now. I thought you meant like Peter Bunzel's vision of the series. You mean Caddy's vision. So Caddy is part of Robert's mum, Selena's fortune-telling act. And she has got... What's it called? Not prophet. Seer. She's a seer. She can like see into the future and have visions of the future. So Vadania really enjoyed that bit where like this little girl, how is she so powerful to make such a prediction? Mind blown emojis. Vadania also says, talking about punishments, why did Dane not get punished? I know. I didn't need him to be like completely hauled over the coals, but he needed consequences other than like near-death experiences. And just like say sorry to the fact that you had Lily and Robert and Caddy and Malkin all throwing themselves into danger to rescue you from what they thought was a terrible kidnap. They were terrified for your life. And then it was like you doing it all alone, and then you dragged them down and everyone nearly got attacked by zombies. So, Dane, at least say sorry. Like, if nothing else, say, I am so sorry for being a massive idiot. Agree, Vadania, what he did was massively horrible. It really was. Vadania said, I loved Malcolm throughout the book. I liked how he was so dramatic at the moments of saying goodbye. Yes, Caddy's vision. Second sight, yes, yeah. Okay. I don't know what the okay was for. Oh, he basically did what his aunt did as well. Yes, he did. That's the whole point. Like, there's this massive thing about how the aunt was terrible for this machine. She wasn't a people person. She didn't seem particularly sociable. Or good with kids, and she killed a mouse in front of everyone that was really emotionally traumatic and uncalled for. And obviously she's not great with animals because she had a load of like lab rats. But essentially she was trying to do stuff for science and like kind of just doing a bit of science. I mean, it was very dubious what she was doing, and they're probably, you know, I don't know what ethical practices are, but like it wasn't as bad as how like I think the characters were making out. Like, yes, there should be consequences for the aunt, and what she did was wrong, and also kind of covering up what happened was wrong, but it wasn't like she deliberately set out to kill everyone with this machine. It was an accident. And I think she did feel really bad about it. And she generally was upset that Dane had been like kidnapped. So that was never properly looked at either. Yeah, Vadania says, now the ant will rot in jail. And he is sorry, puppy eyes. Yeah, agree. Didn't, bit more consequences for your actions, not just a lot of being philosophical about how to get over losing loved ones. We've had Robert dealing with loss, we've had Lily dealing with loss, but I felt that's already been dealt with. I didn't really feel we needed another book talking about dealing with the loss of parents. So yeah, said everything I wanted to say, and I've been talking about this for half an hour, and I haven't even started on the hob. This is quite scary. Right, I'm gonna have some more tea. Just drinkable. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do very mild. No, not mild. I'm going to do non-spoiler my thoughts on Golden Fool, which is the second book in the Tawny Man trilogy, which is the third series in the Realm of the Elderling series by Robin Hobb, which is an adult epic fantasy. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to talk about what I've started reading and what I'm hoping to read over this next week, and kind of how that feeds into readathons. And then I'm going to go into full-on Golden Fool spoilers because I've got a lot to say. Okay, Golden Fool non-spoilers. So we pick up again where we left off with the story. Like literally no time has passed. We're just right in there from the get-go. We have characters dealing with the fallout of what happened in the past book. We have some links to the previous series in this one. There was a few in Fool's Errand, which was the first book in this trilogy, but there is some more kind of wider world happenings that we saw in the Live Ship Traders, and we get to see we get to hear a little bit more about those characters in this one as well. So it really does cement that you add the reading order is the reading order for a reason. Not that it's always very clear, but if you're thinking of reading any Robin Hobb, if you're thinking of reading The Realm of the Elderlings, check out the reading order. There are things about it. There are lists and things on the internet. And if you're really struggling, go to Dairy's read it before, because she has videos about The Realm of the Elderlings as a whole and which way you should read them. So yeah, it really definitely cemented you need to read Live Ships before reading Tawny Man. Brings up something that some people suspected and worked out in Live Ships. If you hadn't worked that out, it's revealed in this one. So I really want to talk to my friend Dave, who didn't pick up on that, how he felt when he read it in this one. So that intrigues me. There is a lot more kind of politicking in this. We have the Outlander Islands, who are possibly going to kind of be pulled in to have a greater connection with the 6 duchies in terms of trade and intermarriage and things like that. So there is a lot of court play going on with all of that. We also have the witted politics. So this is both with witted and non-witted, and also factions within the witted. So that is between the old blood, which tends to be what people who are witted call themselves. They are the old blood. They are not witted as much. Witted feels a bit more like people without that magic using that as a slur. And then you have the Pygals, which are kind of a fraction of the old bloods, who are very angry and want to seize power. But the way they go about it and the people they are willing to kind of hurt and maim and damage on the way is not good. We don't really like them. And and also the way they are with their wit beasts with the ones they've bonded, the animals they've bonded with. Their ethics are not in line with the true kind of old blood ways. So that was all really fascinating to follow. As always, we have wonderful character moments in here, and just a lot of emotions in here. And I think that is pretty much all I can say about this book before I can go into spoilers. One thing I will say is the Six Duchies and its surrounding areas is a society that is homophobic, and it is a society that is ableist. So some things that are touched on in here make you feel uncomfortable as a reader. It is intended to make you feel uncomfortable because our empathy is with the people that are being spoken about. But I think it feels a little bit difficult because we like some of the characters that are doing those things that feel uncomfortable. I am interested to see if this changes more in Fool's Fate. Is it Fool's Fate? Hold on. I'm terrible with these names. Absolutely terrible with these names because they all sound the same. Let me just check. It is Fool's Fate. So that is the third and final book in the 29 trilogy. So I'm interested to see if that follows on and if that is dealt with more in that one. Things are improved in terms of the ableism in this, but not necessarily the homophobic. But the ableism feels more offensive than the homophobic. It's just like people just don't like it and it's used as an insult, but it doesn't really kind of dig into like a specific person in this, whereas the ableism does. So just be careful and check trigger warnings if that sounds like something that might affect you. So I will talk about this later after I've spoken about what I'm currently reading and what I'm intending to read over the next week. I am going to go full in spoilers the next time I pick this book up. Okay, so what I have been reading, Vadania's put another little comment in the chat. She says, Robin Hobb said good things for the bear and the nightingale. Just saying. Yeah, that's because both Catherine Arden and Robin Hobb are excellent writers. Excellent writers. And I think they have the same kind of atmosphere and depth of world and fantastic characters. So yeah, that sounds correct. So the things that I have been reading, I haven't got very far, but I have read more of, I don't know if you see the book. It says I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. Pretty sure it's Dodie. Yeah, Dodie Smith. So I am reading this along with, well, possibly only me at the moment. Everyone else has probably read it by now. But this is the November and December pick for the FOMO book club, which was created by Jem from Gem of Books, Jack from Spread Book Joy, and Alice from Alice on the Giant Bookshelf. And they have a Discord where you can chat about the books on it. I'm enjoying this so far. I really have not got that far into it. But I suddenly understand the title, I think. So when I heard I Capture the Castle before, I kind of felt it was almost kind of like a conquering sense. But I think that it's written in almost like a pictorial and image sense, like you are taking the likeness of the castle, you are kind of describing and trying to evoke what the castle means through art, I think is what the title means. But again, I'm literally like 3 chapters in, so I could be totally wrong. And I'm going to try and read a chapter a day of this one because it's not currently linked to any of my prompts for the readathons. I could change it, but it already feels very complicated as it is, so I think I'm just going to probably leave it. But I really hope that I get to finish reading this before the live show, and so I can join in watching it live and probably chatting in the chat, or at least pretending I'm watching it live and just chatting in the comments. But we will see. I'm enjoying the writing style. It feels very engaging. Again, like it is very kind of much set in a place and dealing with kind of the characters and their predicament rather than there being kind of like action plot at the moment. But I like the main character, Cassandra. I'm intrigued to see how they're all going to manage and where the story goes. I have also started, the next two are rereads for me because I want to read the next book in the series that I haven't read before. One is a duology and one is, I have no idea, but it's like the latest book has been published and we may get more, we may not, I don't know. So first one is a YA fantasy. It is Even the Darkest Stars by Heather Fawcett. I read this in February. And I have now finally got the follow-up book, which is called All the Wandering Light. And I really, really want to read it and find out how this story ends. But to do it justice, I want to reread this one first. And it's really snowy. It's so atmospherical. So I'm really excited to be reading it now because it is so frosty. Like I'm in a hoodie and I have like lots of 2 socks on and a blanket around my feet and the heating's on. Like it's really cold at the moment here. It's super frosty. So reading about lands of snowy mountains is really working at the moment. It's really exciting. So I have read a little bit. And I'm enjoying it just as much as I did the first time around. So I'm really looking forward to this reread. I think I mentioned before, I am unsure how much I'm going to like it depending on the way the story goes in the second book, because things changed and I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about them. So I will find out. And if I continue to feel how I felt, and that's the way the author wants me to feel, then I will really enjoy this. If I read it wrong and I wasn't supposed to feel those things, and I feel like I've been totally thrown off track, then maybe I won't enjoy it as much as I was hoping. So we will wait and see which way it goes. But at the moment, I really enjoy the main character. She has lots of fun. She lives in this kind of like mountain village, and she really likes climbing and exploring. But she's supposed to, as the chief's second daughter, it's kind of like she's a spare, especially when you've got a sister that's literally only 2 years older than you, but everyone thinks she's perfect. She's supposed to be kind of more like the shaman, kind of go into that kind of career, but she doesn't enjoy it, and she's not that interested in magic. So she kind of wants to rebel against that. Someone from the Royal Explorer, who is like the Emperor's personal explorer, is due to be, has just basically turned up, and she thinks this could be my ticket to my dream. I really want to achieve my dream. And then we kind of start off on this quest, this epic adventure through the snowy landscape to get to this gigantic mountain. And I'm really excited to go on this journey again. I'm already having a great time with it, enjoying the characters, enjoying all the fun and frolicky banter, and I'm having a great time with it all. So really excited to finish this and then get on to All the Wandering Light. So the other one is another middle grade because I love them, and it's another fantasy, and it is Once We Were Witches. I'm just gonna push it into the screen because more people need to read this. Once We Were Witches by Sarah Driver. I read this last year, and I can't remember when, but I got it from the library, absolutely adored it. It had just come out, and then I've been waiting for the second book since then. And I now have the second book, and I want to read the second book. And again, wonderful Vadania Silverscribe read this one and is currently reading the second book. So I want to reread this quickly, again, because it's a while since I've read it. I want to make sure I pick up on everything and then go into the second book, reminding myself. So here we have 2 sisters. We have Spell, the younger one here, and we have Egg, the older one. And they are in this school for wicked girls. Vadania says it's 3 degrees here too. Brr. Yes, it's very brr. Icy faces. And in the book here we have stars on the first few pages. And this has been signed by Sarah Driver because she's local to the little bookshop where I got this from. So that's really, really cool. So she's a Southern English woman. And she says, happy reading, and signed it. So that's very exciting. And the illustrations are by Fabi Santiago. And I love the illustrations in this. So we have the cover, like I've already done. We also have a fabulous map, because who doesn't love a map? Here we go. We've got a map in here. We've got things like Arundel Cathedral, which is local to me. Not like massively local, but I'm in that area. The Kingdom of Old Sussex, it says, and we've got the Ring, which is all these spooky trees, which look really cool. Knucklehole Village. There's a train line that links up to London. So I'm enjoying all of that. We have these wonderful kind of trees with like its spooky kind of like twig-like fingers around the outside of some of the pages. And here it says ingredients for a spell, which I'm going to read you to give you a little taste to see if you maybe should pick this book up and read it. Yes, you should. Ingredients for a spell. A black cat. Oh, it's really swelly writing. It's really hard to read, look. So just bear with, I'll try and get it. A black cat who wears the moon. A lonely undertaker. Two sisters, different as day from night. A silver pocket watch. A portrait scabbing over. A telephone, its cry a portent of death. Hot chocolate swirled with nutmeg. An old book passed from witch to witch. A witch hunt, the greatest of all time. A wicked girl to stop it dead. So much fun. So this book is kind of like in 3 parts. There's the girls in the school, then it's what happens when they escape the school, and then it's where they end up after that. And that's all I'm going to say, because it's amazing, and I really think everyone should read it. It's just, if you like fantasy and if you like middle grade, you'll love it. You will love it. And Vadania's rubbing it in that she's started the 2nd book already. She's got a little party hat and a little boop emoji. What's it called? Where you blow that thing out. Party blower. Yeah. I know, and I wish I was reading it with you so I could talk about it, but I know you've got to read it before you leave, Vadania. I will try and catch up quite quickly with this so we can get there. And all these books, like, I'm not sure what they're going to fit, because The Golden Fool I was supposed to read in November, and I never did. But I can't put it where I've put Fool's Fate, because in the Reindeer Readathon, that was finished a series, and The Golden Fool is the middle one, so that doesn't count. I could put Shadowsea if I don't get to read Fool's Fate. Don't really want to. I could put Shadowsea in there as like the final book instead. Currently, Shadowsea is my Prancer because it's got spring colours. I don't have a favourite season. I kind of like them all. I like sort of enjoying the one that I'm in. It's quite easy. I could put, because the copy I have of Fool's Fate is kind of like golden coloured. Golden Fool, not Fool's Fate, is golden coloured, so it could work as like autumn, and then this could then be Dasher instead, because it finishes the series. We will see. Like I said, I can't fit I Capture the Castle in there. Once We Are Witches is my Rudolph. It has to be my Rudolph because I'm not starting any other series, so this is the start of the series. Even the Darkest Stars could be the start of the series, but this is my Comet, and it has to stay Comet because I haven't got any other books that have got a cosmic word in the title. So that's those. Also going to update you about things that I'm abandoning, that I did intend to read, that I'm now abandoning, and one that I may try and squeeze in at some point. So hold on. Okay. I was originally really excited to read Harry the Ninth, but it just hasn't fitted in, and it's really big. So it's not like a book you can squeeze in. So this is the 2nd book in the Locked Tomb series by Tamsin Muir. But I think what I'm going to do, it's a library book. I'm going to give it back to the library because I did get it out in October and I never read it in November. I'm probably going to save it then again till next year when I'm feeling all those vibes, and I'm going to read Harrow and Nona the Ninth together, and then that will be me continuing with that series. So we're just going to put that one on hold. We're not going to try and progress with that series for a while because too many other series, there's too many other books. I just can't put it in. But I do want to finish it. I do want to read that series. I still have The Mercies by Kieran Millward Hargrave to read. This was a book that won my tea and taste, and I still haven't read it. Haven't read it because there's so many other books that I'm trying to read. But what's really great about this one is it is set in like the really high part of Norway and an island above the highest part of mainland Norway. And it's absolutely freezing there. So cold. So that kind of really works with the ambiance of what I'm going for as well. So that's an option. It could definitely kind of squidge in. But again, I have all these books that I want to read now. So I might push it back till January. I'm not sure, but it's definitely one I want to read. But also, there is curly swirly writing. So it could work as a dancer, which is where you have the flicky writing. One book that, thank you, Vadania, yes, dancer. I got there in the end. The book I originally had as dancer was All the Wandering Light, but I've moved it to be my Blitzen because it also ends on a 2. Can't remember the pages off the top of my head, but it also ends on a 2. So I've swapped out The Girl Who Speaks Bear because I actually want to read that in January because I've got a few videos that I want to do in the future and that fits into one of those. So I don't want to read The Girl Who Speaks Bear this month. So I've swapped that around. And then I kind of have thrown Hollowpox back into the mix. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So that's kind of where I am on Reindeer Readathon. So I'm probably just going to like wait till I've read a bit more before I start assigning them and like clocking them in. But I'm reading books. That's the important thing. In terms of the other readathon I'm doing, haven't really read any of my Havocathons, I suppose. So the Holiday Havocathon is a readathon created by Courtney from Tangible Reads. The Golden Fall is a fantasy, so that could count for the first prompt. But none of the other prompts I have fit in anything that I've read so far. But the other thing that has popped up is the Magical Readathon has got a little mini readathon because it is Lightfall. I have now kind of updated my Magical Readathon journey. So all those videos I've now managed to put on my channel now. And it starts from the 9th of November. So we are now day 1 into the Lightfall mini chilled out readathon, where we are going around Old Favour Pass and looking at the shops. So books I have already started. Once We Were Witches really fits into that. I am visiting the Wallace's Wonderful Wanimals petting zoo shop thing. And for that shop, you read fantasy books. So Once We Were Witches is a fantasy. So that works really well for that one. And then I will see kind of where I go from there. Okay, so if you are not here for the hog, I'm going to say goodbye to you all now. I'm going to drink my cold tea. Vadania said that Shadowsea was her prancer. Yes, I was aware we picked the same book, but it might not stay in my prancer, Vadania. That's the problem. And she also said that, yes, I did already say dancer, and she's not that fast at typing. I'm the same. The conversation has already moved on by the time I've managed to type in there. It's always the way. So that's where I am with all my reading at the moment. I am hoping to do this again next Saturday. I might do it live again. If you enjoyed it, let me know and I can do it live again. I might have to do it live again just because my phone's still not fixed and not working. And that's how I'm going to have to kind of do videos from now on until that is better, because I have no other equipment to film on. So there we go. Where was I going with this? Yes, so there we go. Goodbye, everyone. Happy reading. If you are watching this non-live, feel free to chat in the comments. Tell me how your reading's going. Are you doing anything? Are you doing any readathons in December? What are you reading? What have you been enjoying so far? Let me know. You know, I always love a chat. Happy reading. I am now going to talk about The Golden Fall. Happy reading, Vadania. Thank you for the hug and the stars. I will try and be chatty on Discord about stuff. We will see how it goes. Also really hard for me to kind of watch YouTube content because it was so easy on my phone. I could put my headphones on and I could do it as I was going around the house. it's not so easy with the laptop because I have to be plugged into it, and then I have a lead, and it's just so cumbersome. So I'm really slacking in my YouTube watching as well, which makes me really sad. But it is what it is. Right. I'm going to be talking to Golden Fool. There will be spoilers. I'm just going all in. I'm just going all in. So, my recommendation to all of you, if you are a character reader, if you like a very detailed, immersive world, read Robin Hobb. Go and read The Assassin's Apprentice, put it on your list, leave this video, come back to it when you have read up to this point, and we can chat more. It will be wonderful. I'm so excited to talk about this. I'm so excited to talk about this. I don't know how I'm going to stop talking about this. I don't know how I'm going to start talking about this because there's a lot I want to say. But basically, like, if you want to read these books, get out now. Bye. It's been lovely to see you. It's been wonderful having you here and hanging out, but get out. Especially you, Vadania, because you're rubbish at spoilers. Get out. This is your final warning, Vadania. Get out. Now. Go. Lovely. The Golden Fool. So first of all, Fool's Errand. We all know what happened at the end of Fool's Errand. If you don't know what happened at the end of Fool's Errand, you should not be here. You're a crazy person. Unless you have no intention of reading Hobb at all, then fine, you can listen to me ramble. We lost Night Eyes at the end of Fool's Errand. It was beautiful. It was a wonderful moment, but it's really sad. And the beginning of this is just, firstly, just the fact that Night Eyes isn't there. Like, we've been with Night Eyes for, I suppose, technically not that long, given the fact that we've had a whole trilogy without him, but we knew he existed somewhere. So, but it still feels like long. Like, it's been a long time. There's been a 15-year gap between Assassin's Quest and Fool's Errand. But he's gone. He's gone. And now it just feels so sad, and like Fitz is having to deal with it all, and it's just done so well. Like, it's just, Hobb's just brilliant at all of this stuff. She just does it so well. But I think I felt more sad reading the beginning of this than I did at the end of Fool's Errand, just because I sort of knew, you kind of knew something was going to happen, because of like, it had been like, I don't have the right words. It's late. I'm tired. I don't have the right words, but it'd been like kind of like hinted at, and sort of like many hints were dropped that Night Eyes we were going to be saying goodbye to him. And the way it happened was so beautiful. I kind of half missed it, and I had to go back and like properly sit down and like reread it and just let myself absorb it fully to kind of work out the way that Night Eyes said goodbye and left us. And it was so beautiful. And then you had that grief of where Fitz was kind of grieving and Dutiful was grieving, and all of that. So there was a lot to kind of take in. But I don't think I properly felt the loss until this book, when he's just not there. And Fitz does stuff like expect to like hear him or try and sense him, and he's not there. And Fitz is so used to kind of having that extra, the other part of himself, and they're just not there. And it really got me. It really got me. And yeah, and it just felt really sad, but Fitz does work through it, and it was such a beautiful chapter so early on. Yeah, it was chapter 5. Chapter 5 was so gorgeous, and it is just Fitz and Krsitin just having a moment together. And we always felt in Assassin's Quest that Krsitin is not fully witted, but just seemed to have this very like awareness, like a certain amount of old blood awareness that she has in her, that she seems to almost kind of be aware of animals. And her nature is so, again, I don't have the words, people. This is really difficult. But the way Krsitin is, like, she's so giving, but so like aware of the bigger picture. And she's very kind of, because of like the mountains and the way they kind of did things. She's really kind of in tune with the natural world. So it makes sense that out of everyone, she kind of could connect to Fitz in what he was feeling. And she kind of really does in this. She feels like family to Fitz, and she feels like his sister. And it's so beautiful. Even though I suppose she's technically his aunt because Verity was his uncle, they're so close in age. It's like their brother and sister. So it was so nice to kind of just have that moment where Fitz could cry and be hugged by someone. And it was just beautiful. I really loved it. It was such a lovely, lovely moment there. And then we continue, and Fitz is just fully now immersed into the politics, back in his role as the Farseer spy, potential assassin, and it kind of just goes from there. We have got the threat of the Pieballs, we have got this kind of sussing out of who the Outlanders are, and there are spy holes galore in this place. Like, we are really aware of spy holes. If you love a bit of gossip, you'd love this. Proper spying. I mean, people's privacy is not taken in here. There is no honor here. We are for the protection of the Farseers and the realm. We are finding everyone's dirty little secrets and spying on everyone from their, like, you know, when you see like films where you could like see like eyes in the portrait holes and like aware that there are people like finding stuff out behind you. It's very that in here. But it's quite fun. And it's also a great plot device in that we get to see through Fitz's eyes, but be fed conversations he would have no access to because of this. So it does work really well. We also get introduced to a character that I really like the character, but because, as I already mentioned earlier, this is a very ableist world. And so the way characters talk to him and talk about him feels uncomfortable, and even his name feels uncomfortable to say. So the character is called Thick, and he is referred to as a half-wit, and that is one of the nicer terms, I suppose, which isn't nice at all. It's derogatory, it's dehumanizing, and it doesn't feel nice. But what Hogg does really well, which she did in Assassin's Apprentice, is take things that we recognize but not need to name them, because within this world, because it's very linked to the medieval world, it's very kind of, that's the kind of tech level that we're at, and kind of the, what's the word, social expectations level that we're at as well. So they wouldn't have words. They wouldn't have words for people who are neurodivergent. So Thick is someone who has Down syndrome, and the description of him, that it's through Fitz's eyes, and the way Fitz thinks of him and the way he sees him is uncomfortable. But we understand why, because of the world that he is in. And what is positive is that Fitz recognizes that society is kind of failing him, and either people are outright horrible to him just because he's someone that could be picked on, or they patronize him. Like, Shade is sort of well-meaning but has very little expectation of him. But what is brilliant is that Thick is skilled. So he can talk to Fitz through the skill. And it was really fascinating watching their relationship and how it grows. And it is a very kind of slow burn throughout this book in terms of Thick's character arc and in terms of the relationship between him and Fitz and other characters. But there are some very kind of uncomfortable scenes before we get to that point. And even when we're at that point, there are some uncomfortable phrases that Fitz still uses, that is still used within the narrative. So be very careful if you are someone that would be really upsetting to, if either you are someone with Down syndrome, if you have a close loved one who has Down syndrome, it may feel really upsetting to read about this. So just go in carefully. But at the same time, it is nice to see that there is this representation. Although obviously it's not own voices, I am not someone who is knowledgeable enough to say whether or not this feels like good representation. Because it's not, we're not looking at their perspective, it's not done from their perspective. It is very much that character is seen through the eyes of someone who lives in a society that is ableist. So it is uncomfortable reading. But what is great is that Thick is really, really strong with the skill. Like, he is like unbelievably strong with it, to the point that all of the characters who are aware that he has it are constantly questioning how can he be so skilled, and then also being aware that they are massively judging him. What is nice to see is that he is started to be treated a lot better, and he started to kind of be, he's very much kind of adopted into the fan family, which is really lovely. But it still makes me feel uncomfortable when he is referred to as half-wit, and sometimes he's referred to as idiot, and that is offensive. But he's a sweetheart. He's such a sweetheart. And it makes me so happy because I have known a lot of people with Down syndrome, and they are absolutely lovely individuals. They always make me smile when I get to greet them, because they are so friendly and they are so warm. And I have known ones that are really, really intelligent and have such like great insight into things that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of. And I don't know this girl personally, but there is a girl that I have followed on Facebook who is trying to break barriers, and she is an actress and a model, and she's absolutely beautiful, and she is like really trying to push representing people with Down syndrome, so it is not something that holds people back, and like she's really pushing for equality, and she's marvelous. And it's really bad that I've forgotten her name because I have not been on Facebook for such a long time, because I try and not go on it that much. I want to say she's called Bryony, but I could be totally wrong. So it did make me feel happy to see a character with Down syndrome in the story. But at the same time, it also was really hard to read because of how they were treated. I think that's all I've got to say on that. But yeah, the skill in here, how it's explored, how much further we go with it is fascinating. And I love Shade and Fit's relationship in this. It is so true for them. So true for them. And I love how this continues. Like, you have this kind of almost like father-son, mentor and mentee, but Fitz has grown up now, and he is so much more aware of skill than Shade is. And Shade has always been reckless. And all of these things, like, I love Shade. I think Shade's great. But I also am very much aware of his faults and his Achilles heel, and so is Fitz. And I just loved all of this tension between the two and how they juggle this. And I'm so interested to see how it's going to go in the next book, because Shade's going to be part of the quest in this one. Like, we have Shade as someone to kind of refer to, someone in the shadows, but Shade is going to be out on a quest. And I'm really excited to see Shade out in the field again. This feels great. I really love this coterie that they have created. I love how Fitz and Dutiful's relationship has expanded. And all the prickliness that kind of needed to be dealt with in that, I thought was done really well. I also got really emotional when Dutiful explained to Fitz that he knew who he was, and that Dutiful talks about how one of the things he knew was that he went and was a page for Patience, for Lady Patience. And this was so, we also see her attending a feast in here as well. And this was so difficult because Fitz loves his mum and he can't go to his mum and he can't say hello to his mum because she can't keep his secret. And the realm secret is too big for just personal ones. But this was so hard, just seeing Patience and hearing of Patience and hearing how much she loves Fitz. And that made me really emotional. It made Fitz emotional, then I was emotional, that Fitz was emotional. And it was just lovely. And I think there are lots of kind of like circles within this. And Hob actually goes as far in this one to talk about those circles and patterns repeating itself, not just in the Fool as the White Prophet talking about repetition circles, but as in like Fitz being aware of circles of like repetition and relationships and things. We get some letters that Verity wrote to Chivalry where Fitz is mentioned, but subtly so that other people wouldn't know. And that really affects Fitz as well because he didn't realise that his father cared. There is so much in here. There is so much in here about Fitz is still dealing with all the trauma of his childhood and feeling abandoned by both his parents. This has massive connotations into how he deals with other relationships in here. What I really enjoy, but also hate at the same time, is how we have like spy Fitz, like being subtle and trying to do stuff. And then on the other hand, we have the most unsubtle Fitz. We have like massive Fitz faceplant moments in here. It's like he has a conversation with, there's a reason he uses an axe, and like it's so Fitz that he just has this axe that just smashes things. You know, there's no fancy sword work for him. He just smashes things. In his social interactions in here, he doesn't even have an axe. He has a sledgehammer. There's just, you're just watching it going, oh, what are you doing? What? No, why are you doing that? Don't say it. Ah, so many like facepalm, Fitz facepalm. Like that should be a tagline of this book. It could be a drinking game with this book. How many times do you need to facepalm because of Fitz? Which, in a way, I kind of loved, in a very weird way, just because it reminded me of like young boy Fitz from Farseer. Like you could just see the child Fitz so much in the man Fitz in this, and it just made me, I think it could be because I've adopted him. Like if you didn't know, Fitz is my book baby. I adopted him very early on in Assassin's Apprentice, and he's still my child. Like he's a grown man, but he's still my child. Like I think I'm technically a grandmother now because like Hap is now like my adopted grandchild. I'm going to talk about Hap later. But yeah, I think because I just recognized the baby in the man, it just made me quite nostalgic and a bit gooey, even though he's just being an idiot, because that's what he does sometimes. So let's talk about that conversation, shall we? No, let's talk about live ship stuff before we get to that one. So what was really fun was we have delegates from Bingtown and the Rain Wild delegates come to do a bit of a treaty with the Six Duchies. So that was so great to have hints of those characters again that we've loved and left, and seeing how they've progressed. So it's great to see Jack in some ways, and I did kind of love it, but in other ways it made it really awkward, and it was also really sad because of the Fool and Fitz and all of those connotations and the kind of fallout of all of that. But it was great fun to see Jack again. And it was really fun to see the youngest Vesterate that begins with S, that's a boy that I can't remember his name of, which is terrible. But anyway, he's now like full on elderly in this. He's wearing a veil like the Rain Wild now. He's like eldering it up, which is really hard to say. So that was really delightful to see that. And when I was reading Fool's Errand, I was very kind of convinced that something was in Fitz's head in the Skill River. I really thought it was Tintaglia. And then I thought, well, maybe I got that completely wrong because of people's reaction on Fool's Errand. If it's not Tintaglia, it's definitely another dragon. and I think it could be like the ice fire one. But we do get Tintagel in this. Tintagel is skilling in this and kind of bumps into their skill conversation sometimes, and that's really exciting, but also slightly terrifying because she gets a bit crazy. She gets a bit, mere mortals, don't interfere with my plans. I'm going to threaten you to get you to do what I want. That was quite scary, but also slightly exciting as well. I've gone off on a tangent. Yeah, so it was great to see character beginning with S, young Vesterit dragon person, chatting to Fitz as Tom Badgerlock, who was like, nope, I am just a servant. I have no idea what you're talking about. Nope, not giving you anything. I did find that quite funny. And then it was great to have Jack and Amber the Fool meet up again and have a chat, but also highly awkward because Fitz like, who the hell is Amber? And then Jack's like, it's you! I know your face! Ah! And then Fitz finds out that Amber carved his face on the ship. I still wanted him to have that Paragon and Fitz face-to-face moment. But there's a part of me that found it really funny. Even though I know that he was never going to react well to this and that he's seething and he's freaking out. But there was a part of me that still found it a little bit funny. It's a little bit funny. Because it's so chaotic. And I enjoyed all the live ship news. I thought that was all lots of fun. But Jack massively just put her foot in it. And I feel really so sorry for Amber the Fool because she's like, she did so well at trying to like keep all the balls in the air that she needs to keep the whole storyline going. But unfortunately, two of the players didn't behave and they met each other and shit hit the fan. Fitz has to react like classic Fitz and get angry and worry about a load of stuff. But it makes sense for Fitz to do it. As much as I hated it, as much as it was really uncomfortable, as much as it hurt to see the Fool hurting. Of course that's what Fitz was going to do because it's facepalm Fitz moments. He immediately regretted what he did, but being Fitz can't articulate it. And so doesn't say anything. And I'm going to make a confession in a minute. Kind of now. He doesn't actually deal with it until like literally like the last pages of this book. And it's like halfway through, literally like halfway through. So we've got half the book of this awful, horrible argument like hanging over both of them. And Fitz just still can't sort it out until like the last pages. If I had read this properly, would have killed me. I would have just been freaking out the whole time and like not really being able to enjoy the story because my brain would be like, but Fitz and the Fool. But Fitz and the Fool. But are they okay? Are they going to be okay? What's happening to Fitz and the Fool? Why is Fitz not talking to the Fool? So I had a really good reading session. And I just got to like Jex appeared, Fitz heard all the stuff, and then we have the whole drama in the hall of Dutiful being challenged to go find this dragon. And I was like, I really need to go to bed. It's like really late at night, like early hours of the morning, late at night. But how do I function the next day? Not knowing stuff. And I had work. I had lots of work. I couldn't stop and read. And I had children to deal with before work and other stuff going on that I needed to do. And how do I manage to function with all of this emotional stuff going on in my brain? And I am having characters that I'm arguing with in my head. Like I'm rehabbing arguments. I mean, Starling. I had so many arguments with Starling in my head, not in this book. Just so many arguments with her where I just need to tell her a lot of stuff to make myself feel better because Fitz can't say it. He just really struggles to say anything because he's Fitz. I then had trying to make Fitz and the Fool talk to each other kind of conversations in my head. I know myself. I know I am not going to function unless I know what happens. I skim read the second half of the book. I'm sorry. I had to. I skim read it because I needed to know if Fitz and the Fool were going to be okay. I needed to know. So there were very intense conversations that I read properly, and then bits in between I skim read. So I got a sense of the story. I didn't really get into like all the old blood stuff because I'm interested, but like that wasn't what was keeping me up. It's Fitz and the Fool that was keeping me up. And then also like Fitz's skilling command issues with dutiful. So like all of Fitz's relationships. So like his awkward father-y kind of mentor relationships that kind of were wounding him. It was just like snap, one after the other, after the other, after the other. Like all of his relationships, he was just like angry Fitz, like cutting all the ties. And this is what Hob does so well because it's all about like harks back to like Fitz's abandonment and how he really struggled from like a mixture of like neglect and emotional abuse, even though it wasn't deliberate. People just didn't know how to be around him and know what he needed. But all of that stuff, and then of course they've got all the trauma on top of that goes along with it. You know, bless him, he's a very screwed up individual. So of course he's going to react badly to stuff. And I'll come back to that in a moment. Let me just finish off my confession. So I wasn't going to be able to sleep with Fitz in this kind of relationship mess. So I had to kind of get him back on terms with dutiful again before I could go to sleep. And I had to get him in for the Fool resolved before I could go to sleep. I mean, thank God it happened, because if I had to then pick up Fool's fate to kind of find a point where they were friends or have it confirmed that they were never friends again, and that was it, Fitz screwed it all up forever, that would have been really hard. But I needed to know, because otherwise all I'd be doing throughout reading the rest of it would be worrying about that. I wouldn't be concentrated on the story I was being given. I'd just be worrying about that because that's how my brain works. So I finally went to bed very late, but able to sleep because I knew the conclusion of the Fitz and the Fool argument and the dutiful and Fitz argument. And then I had a little bit of a break and read other stuff, and then I read the rest of it properly, fully immersed in. Absolutely loved it. Didn't ruin anything for me. Made me stop and appreciate it more because I could take my time knowing it was going to be okay. Ish. It is okay, really, but still could have been not happened at all. But I'm now going to go back to the Fitz's emotions. What was really good was the fact that Fitz immediately recognized that he did something wrong. Didn't fully go into it, but he did recognize he did something wrong. And he learned from it. This is where we see mature Fitz come into play, because he learned, I should not have done that with the Fool. So when he then had a conversation with Jade, he didn't go in angry. He allowed himself to think that maybe other people have an opinion. Maybe there's another side of the story, not just his. Maybe the world isn't out to get him. Because that's where he left. Like, old Fitz would have just gone, everyone hates me, I'm going to go get pissed. Whereas this Fitz was able to reflect on his own behaviour. And I am so proud of my child. Well done, Fitz. That's all I ever wanted for you, was to be able to have good communication. You've still got a long way to go, but it's a start, and I'm proud of you. So when he spoke to Shade, he was able to be calm. He was then able to realise he needed to go and see Krsitin himself, and he was able to have a really good conversation with Krsitin, even though it made him uncomfortable. And I loved how that conversation went. I loved how she was able to meet him as an equal in a family way, but also then be his queen, and how they were both able to express their opinions to each other and their points of view and where they were coming from, and accept that this is hard and it sucks and it's not fair, but we both get it. I loved that conversation they had about Nettle and just about everything, and how Fitz respected Godric and listened to her. And old Fitz, young boy Fitz, would not have done that. He would still be too angry and pissed to be able to do that. He would be volatile. He'll be having a fight with someone. He'd be screaming at someone else. So well done, mature adult Fitz. Hooray. I also appreciate that he did manage to go and deal with the dutiful situation. And he did manage to deal with Vic. And he also was able to sort out his relationship with Hap as well. This was also something that really made me so excited, because Hap was just such a sweetheart. And this is where I think we've broken the circle. This is where this inability to communicate, it broke. So we just kind of had Fitz at his lowest. Like, we've had him have that argument with the fool. He's feeling angry about all these other things. And he goes into town to kind of like have a little drink all by himself and just feel crappy about everything. And then he gets pulled into a fight he doesn't want to have, but ends up beating up the father of the person that Hap was, illegally is the wrong word, but was like seeing without her parents' permission. And then Hap's angry with Fitz as well and is annoyed by him, and they have an argument. And then Fitz is kind of like, oh, Hap hates me now. And again, you can see the way Fitz's brain works. He then thinks, well, that's it. I've now lost Hap as well, because this is how he sees me, and this is what he wants, and he's changed, and I can't get him back, because Fitz doesn't have the words to articulate what he wants and what worries him. He can't do it. He hasn't learned to communicate that, which is such a shame. However, Hap has grown up in a loving family. I mean, I don't know what went on before, but when he came into Fitz's life, he was shown love. He was given safety. Him and Night Eyes both nurtured Hap and would talk with him and share things with him and support him. And Hap has that confidence and that ability to continue to love people even when you argue with them, and to fight for relationships and not just let people go. And he is able to talk about his feelings because of the love that he was raised in and the way Fitz raised him. And that is brilliant. And that is brilliant. And I loved it. Can I even find it in this book? I can't pause because we're live. I have no idea if I'm going to be able to find this. I'm not going to be able to find it in here. I should have prepared. But I love that scene when Fitz thinks, that's it. He's lost Hap, and he said, I'm going to continue to pay for your apprenticeship. And then is about to walk off. He walks off, but then Hap stops him. And Hap says to him that he explains he's not ungrateful. He's trying to do what Fitz wants him. And he explains all the things he's trying to do and says he's sorry that they're not getting on and that he loves him. I got so emotional at that point again. I got teary-eyed. I just felt this big lump in my heart that I was so happy, because I could just see this going the normal Hob route of Fitz then has all of his relationships. He's horrible to everyone because everyone hates him and he just doesn't get on. And this one, Hap is able to get past all of Fitz's anger and say, I love you. And Fitz was able to turn around and go, I love you too. And they had a hug. They had a hug. So proud. Well done, Fitz. Great parenting. Well, you raised your child well. I'm very proud of my adopted grandson. So that made me really happy. So I loved that break in the circle, that because there was a lot of talk in the live discussion about Fool's Errand. I can't remember whose channel that was on, but it's either on Derry. Oh, I think it was Anitha's channel. If not, it'll be on Pete's or Evie's or Derry's. And there was a lot of talk about seeing that same, was it on there or was it in the Discord? Anyway, there was a chat that seeing that same thing repeating itself. So we saw Fitz having that relationship with Molly, which was kind of forbidden, and then Hap being this young boy in this town and having this kind of forbidden relationship as well, and kind of trying to throw everything aside for this relationship that may not be the best thing for him. But the difference is that Hap was raised with unconditional love and was shown that by Fitz, and was able to articulate himself and able to explain and not be willing to give up on it. And so to have that moment where we almost lost everything, Fitz was able to turn around, hug Hap and say, I love you too. And I know we're having a problem right now, but we're not giving up on each other and we're going to fix this. Finally. And then that kind of like buoyed Fitz up in confidence, I feel, that he still was loved, that it was still okay. And he was able to sort out all the other ones, apart from the Fool. Took him so long to deal with that. And he knew for such a long time, everything he should have said to the Fool, he was saying in his head. He was so aware of what he did wrong, and that the Fool was right, and he should never have done it. He should never have not trusted him, and that he misses him so much. And he never said it till right at the end, and that was really hard. And I don't know where the relationship's gonna go in terms of the next book, because Fitz has still kind of got some secrets going on. And I don't know how it's going to work, but it'll be really interesting. But yeah, those are the things that kind of Fitz's relationships with everyone is the thing that struck me the most about this book, that I was the most invested in, that I have the most to say on. Plot-wise, I enjoyed it all. I enjoyed all of the wider world aspect of it. I really enjoyed the Eliaria, the Narcesca. Really fascinated to know what the plotting is in all of this, what the dragon tattoos mean. Also very curious, I don't know if you can see this book. So I don't know who these characters are supposed to be, because it's like a mashup of the Eliaria, the Narcesca, showing her uncle the tattoos and him helping her, because she's got long dark hair. And I don't know if you can see that the uncle's got like this tattoo on his eye, but it could also be Fitz and the Fool, because there is a sheet around the Fool, which is how Fool shows the tattoo, and the clothing appears very Fitz-like, and the bearing appears very Fitz-like, but the hair is black, not golden. And Fitz does not have tattoos, he has a scar. So it could be either. I'm just intrigued as to what other people think, and who've read this and have seen this cover. But yeah, really excited to. I could easily pick up Fool's Fate right now. I'm not going to, because I think I don't want it to be finished. I think that's the thing. I just don't want it to be finished, because once I've read this, I've read the Tawny trilogy, and then there's only 2 more. And I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to say goodbye to it. And I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about the Rain Wild Chronicles, because I hear that that's some people's least favourite. And then we get to the final one, and I think I feel like what I'd love to do for each book, I would love to have like a weekend retreat and just be able to immerse myself in those books. It's not going to happen, but that's what I'd love to do for those last few books. So yeah, I'm worried. I'm in a happy kind of middle point, but I know I'm going to tip over the middle point soon and be nearly at the end, and that makes me feel sad and worried, because I love these books. But yeah, I could easily pick it up. I'm excited to see where the plot's going to go in terms of all of the old blood. I loved all of that exploration. What a wonderful character is Webb. Webb is wonderful. Love Webb. What a fantastic character. Can't wait to see more of him. That's all brilliant. I enjoyed how Eliara, the Nasheka's servant, that wasn't really a servant, but we feel is very much a spy, was one of the people meeting with the Pieballs. I thought that was fabulous. Really intrigued as to where all this plot's going. So yeah, politicking, questing, fascinated to find out where it's all leading to, where the Six Duchies is going to stand in the overall picture of Realm of the Elderlings, and what Fitz is going to do in terms of taking away the Fool's agency and ruining his plans for the protecting of the Fool, and how that's all going to go down. Bit concerned, but we will see. I'm very excited to be reading it. thank you. If you have made it so far to the end, please, chat with me I'm on Discord. Come and find me. I'm Chatting the Mad Chatter. There are many, many Robin Hobb chats. I'd love to kind of talk more about the Golden Fool. I won't say chat in these comments just because I don't want people to be spoilt. But if you put in there that you want to chat spoilers with me, I'd be more than happy to do that. I'm so excited. So excited to keep reading and to carry on. Thank you so much. I really hope my phone is better soon. I may do this next time. I don't know. But I'm going to sign off now and say happy reading, everyone.